Everyone thinks bunkers are safe. Here's the reality. In 1962, a family of 6 sealed themselves inside their backyard bunker during the Cuban Missile Crisis. They had food, they had water, they had air filters, and within 72 hours they were trying to kill each other. The bombs never even fell. Right now, across America, there are approximately 10,000 privately owned bunkers. Some are simple concrete boxes buried in backyards. Others are multi-million-dollar underground mansions complete with swimming pools and movie theaters. The bunker industry has exploded over the past decade. We are talking about a market worth over $500 million annually. And that number keeps climbing. Every time tensions rise between major world powers, every time someone mentions nuclear weapons on the news, every time a politician says something that makes people nervous, the bunker companies see their phone lines light up. And I get it, I really do. The idea of a bunker is incredibly appealing. Think about it. The world above you is chaos, fire and radiation and collapse. But you are safe. You are underground. You have your supplies. You have your family. You just wait it out. Let the storm pass, then emerge when things settle down. It sounds almost romantic in a way, like a reset button for civilization. But here is what those bunker salesmen are not telling you. Here is what those survival forums gloss over. Here is what even the most experienced preppers get dangerously wrong. A bunker is not a solution. A bunker is a problem multiplier. And the reasons why are going to shock you. Let me take you back to that family in 1962. The Hendersons. A father, a mother, and their 4 children. They lived in a suburb of Los Angeles. The father was an engineer, smart guy, methodical. When the Berlin Wall went up the year before, he started planning. He read every civil defense manual he could find. He calculated food requirements down to the calorie. He installed a ventilation system that was ahead of its time. He even ran practice drills with his family. They would time themselves. How fast could they get from the house to the bunker? How quickly could they seal the door? They were prepared, or so they thought, when Kennedy went on television and told America about the missiles in Cuba. When the country held its breath, the Hendersons did not hesitate. They grabbed their go bags. They descended into their bunker. They sealed the door, and they waited for the world to end. The first few hours were almost exciting. There was a sense of adventure. The children treated it like camping. The parents felt a quiet pride. All their planning was paying off. They had done what their neighbors had not. They were going to survive. But then something started to shift. Something nobody had planned for. Something no manual could have prepared them for. The silence. You see, in your everyday life, you are surrounded by sound, traffic, birds, wind, the hum of electricity, your refrigerator, your air conditioner, other people. You do not even notice these sounds anymore. Your brain filters them out. But underground, in a sealed concrete box, that ambient noise disappears entirely. And what replaces it is the sound of your own existence, your breathing, your heartbeat, the rustle of your clothing, every swallow, every stomach gurgle, every tiny movement amplified in that dead quiet space. By hour 8, the youngest child, a 5-year-old girl, had not stopped crying. Not because she was scared, but because the silence was making her ears ring. Her brain, desperate for input, was creating phantom sounds, a low hum that would not go away. The parents tried to comfort her, but their nerves were already fraying. And here is the thing. This was just the beginning. By hour 24, the bunker's biggest flaw revealed itself. And it was not the air, it was not the food. It was something far more primal. It was the bathroom. Now, the Henderson bunker did have a toilet, a chemical toilet similar to what you might find in an RV. It worked, technically. But here is what nobody tells you about chemical toilets in enclosed spaces. The chemicals only mask the smell. They do not eliminate it. And in a sealed bunker with no real ventilation to the outside world, that smell builds, slowly at first, then relentlessly. By hour 36, the bunker smelled like what it was. A concrete box where 6 humans were eating, sleeping, sweating, and eliminating waste in the same space. The mother developed a persistent headache. 2 of the children started gagging whenever they were near the toilet area. And the father, the methodical engineer, the man who had planned everything so carefully, he started to realize he had made a terrible mistake. But wait, let me pause here, because what happened next is where things get really dark. And I need you to understand something first. Something about human psychology that changes everything about bunker survival. There is a phenomenon called the hostile attribution bias. In normal circumstances, when someone bumps into you or says something that could be taken 2 ways, you give them the benefit of the doubt. You assume it was an accident. You assume they meant well. This is how society functions. This is how families stay together. But under stress, under confinement, under sensory deprivation, that bias flips. Suddenly, every accidental touch feels intentional. Every neutral comment sounds like an attack. Every facial expression looks hostile. Your brain, desperate for stimulation and primed for threat, starts finding enemies everywhere, even among the people you love most. This is exactly what happened to the Hendersons, and it happened fast. By hour 48, the father and mother had stopped speaking to each other. A disagreement about water rationing had escalated into accusations. She said he was being controlling. He said she was being ungrateful. The children, sensing the tension, split into factions. The older two siding with their mother, the younger two clinging to their father. The bunker, designed to protect them from external threats, had become a pressure cooker of resentment. And then, hour 60, the youngest child knocked over a container of water. Not a lot, maybe half a gallon. In normal circumstances, this would be nothing. A minor spill, clean it up and move on. But in that bunker, in that state of psychological deterioration, it was a detonator. The father screamed, not yelled, screamed at a 5-year-old. The mother intervened. There was pushing. The older son stepped in, and suddenly this family that had spent months preparing to survive together was engaged in physical violence. In a space smaller than most living rooms, they unsealed the door less than 12 hours later. The crisis was still ongoing. The news was still uncertain, but they could not stay underground another minute. The mother took the children to her sister's house. The father stayed behind. They never spoke about what happened in that bunker, and their marriage never recovered. Now here is the kicker. The part that makes this story more than just a family tragedy. The bombs never fell. The Cuban Missile Crisis ended peacefully. All that fear, all that preparation, all that psychological damage, for a threat that never materialized. But let me ask you this. What if the bombs had fallen? What if they had needed to stay in that bunker for 2 weeks, a month, 6 months? What then? Because here is the brutal truth that the bunker industry does not want you to know. The physical survival component of a bunker is the easy part. You can calculate air requirements. You can stockpile food. You can install water filtration systems. These are engineering problems. They have engineering solutions. But the psychological survival, that is an entirely different beast, and almost nobody is prepared for it. Let me give you some numbers that will blow your mind. In the 1960s, the United States and the Soviet Union both conducted extensive research on long-term bunker habitation. They were planning for nuclear war. They needed to know if people could actually survive underground for extended periods. What they discovered was terrifying. In one American study, volunteers were placed in a simulated bunker environment for just 2 weeks. These were psychologically screened individuals, stable, healthy, no prior mental health issues. They were told exactly what to expect. They were given comfortable conditions by bunker standards, good food, entertainment options, space to move around. By day 3, 20% of participants were experiencing significant anxiety. By day 7, that number had jumped to 60%. By day 10, nearly half of the participants were displaying symptoms of acute psychological distress, paranoia, aggression, dissociation, depression. And these were people who knew, absolutely knew, that they could leave at any time. That it was just an experiment, that they were perfectly safe. Imagine what happens when the threat is real, when you cannot leave, when you do not know if there is anything left to leave to, when every cough from a family member makes you wonder if the air system is failing, when every creak and groan of the structure makes you question if it will hold. The Soviet research was even more alarming. They did not just study individuals, they studied groups, families, small communities, and what they found was that the most dangerous threat in any bunker scenario was not radiation, was not starvation, was not mechanical failure. It was other people. Group dynamics in confined spaces follow a predictable pattern. There is an initial honeymoon phase where everyone cooperates. Then there is a phase of rising tension where small annoyances become major grievances. Then there is a crisis point where the group either establishes a new equilibrium or it fractures. And in bunker scenarios, the Soviet researchers found that fracture was far more common than stability. Groups that had been friends, families that had been close, strangers who had been assigned together, they all followed the same trajectory: cooperation, tension, conflict, and sometimes violence. But wait, there is more to this story, because I have been focusing on the psychological aspects so far, and those are important. They might be the most important. But they are not the only problems with bunkers. Let me talk about something that every bunker owner assumes they have figured out. Air. You need to breathe. Obviously. And underground, there is no natural air exchange, so every bunker needs some kind of ventilation or filtration system. Most modern bunkers use what are called NBC filters, nuclear biological chemical. These filters are designed to remove radioactive particles, biological agents, and chemical contaminants from outside air. They are impressive technology. They work. But here is what the bunker salesmen do not emphasize. These filters have a limited lifespan. Depending on the contamination levels outside, an NBC filter might last anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. After that, you need to replace it. And if you do not have replacement filters, if you cannot get replacement filters because the world above you has collapsed, then your multi-million-dollar bunker becomes a very expensive tomb. Now, some bunkers have backup systems. Oxygen generators, CO2 scrubbers, recycled air systems similar to what submarines use. These are better. They can theoretically last much longer, but they require power, and power in a bunker is another problem entirely. Most bunkers rely on generators, diesel generators, propane generators, even gasoline generators if the designer was particularly foolish. These work great. Until you run out of fuel, and storing large quantities of fuel underground brings its own set of risks: leaks, fumes, fire hazards, explosion potential. Some newer bunkers have moved to solar power with battery storage, which sounds great except you are underground. The solar panels are above ground, which means they are exposed to whatever caused you to retreat to your bunker in the first place. An EMP could fry them. A nuclear blast could destroy them. Fallout could cover them. Looters could steal them. That backup power system you were counting on might not be there when you need it. And then there is water, the most overlooked resource in bunker planning. You need about a gallon of water per person per day at minimum. More if you are dealing with stress, heat, or physical activity. For a family of 4 planning to shelter for 6 months, that is over 700 gallons of water just for drinking. Add in cooking, hygiene, sanitation. You are looking at several thousand gallons. Most bunkers cannot store that much, so they rely on filtration systems that process groundwater or stored water. These systems work, but they also require power. They also require maintenance. They also require replacement parts, and they can fail. A single point of failure in your water system does not just make things inconvenient, it makes them fatal. Dehydration kills faster than starvation. In an extreme bunker scenario, 3 days without water, and you are in serious trouble. But let me tell you about an even darker aspect of bunker survival, one that almost never gets discussed in the prepper community. What happens when someone in your bunker gets sick? Not just sick, seriously sick, or injured. Think about it. You are in a sealed environment. Medical resources are limited, professional help is unavailable, and now someone has appendicitis, or a heart attack, or a compound fracture, or any of 1,000 medical emergencies that would normally send you to a hospital. What do you do? What can you do? I talked to a former military survival instructor about this. What he told me was chilling. He said the single biggest cause of bunker failure in military exercises was not equipment, was not supplies, was not even psychology. It was medical emergencies that the occupants were unprepared to handle. People died from things that would be minor inconveniences with proper medical care. An infected cut, a bad tooth, a treatable disease that becomes untreatable, and it gets worse. Because in a sealed environment, disease spreads fast. One person gets sick, everyone gets exposed. That cold that would normally just make you uncomfortable for a week becomes a bunker-wide epidemic. And if you are already stressed, already sleep-deprived, already nutritionally compromised, your immune system is not going to fight it off as effectively as it normally would. Now, let me pause here because I want to address something. I am not trying to tell you that bunkers are useless. I am not trying to tell you that preparation is pointless. What I am trying to do is give you the complete picture, the picture that the people selling bunkers do not want you to see, the picture that the survival fantasy obscures. Because here is the thing. Bunkers can work. They have worked. There are documented cases of people surviving in bunkers during real catastrophic events. But, and this is a big but, the bunkers that work are not the ones you see advertised. They are not the luxury underground homes. They are not the converted missile silos with their swimming pools and wine cellars. The bunkers that actually save lives are designed with one thing in mind: short-term survival. Let me explain what I mean. The purpose of a bunker in a nuclear scenario is not to live underground forever. It is to shelter in place during the most dangerous period, immediately following a blast. The first 48 to 72 hours are when radiation levels are highest. After that, levels drop rapidly due to radioactive decay. After 2 weeks, external radiation levels are typically low enough for careful exposure. The goal of a bunker is to get you through that initial period, not to become your permanent home. The bunkers that work best are simple, small, well ventilated for short-term use, stocked with enough supplies for 2 to 4 weeks, and critically, they have an exit plan. They are a bridge to the next phase of survival, not a destination in themselves. The problem is that this is not sexy. This does not sell. A simple concrete shelter with basic supplies does not make for an impressive YouTube video or a flashy sales brochure. So the bunker industry has created this fantasy of underground luxury. This idea that you can ride out the apocalypse in comfort, and people are spending their life savings chasing that fantasy. Let me tell you about a guy I will call Marcus. This is not his real name, but his story is real, and it illustrates everything wrong with how people think about bunkers. Marcus was a successful software developer in the Pacific Northwest. Married, 2 kids, nice house, good life. But like a lot of people, he got worried about the state of the world around 2016. The political climate, the nuclear saber rattling, the general sense that things were unstable. He started researching bunkers. At first it was casual, reading articles, watching videos, joining forums, but it became an obsession. He could not stop thinking about what would happen if the bombs fell. How would he protect his family? How would he survive? He found a bunker company that promised exactly what he was looking for. A fully self-contained underground survival solution, climate-controlled, blast-resistant, stocked with a year of supplies, medical facilities, entertainment systems, everything a family could need to wait out the end of the world. The price tag was $2.4 million. Marcus sold his house. He cashed out his retirement accounts. He borrowed money from his parents. He put everything into this bunker. His wife thought he was crazy. She begged him to reconsider. He would not listen. He was convinced that this was the most important thing he could do for his family. The bunker was installed on a property in rural Montana. It was everything the company had promised. State-of-the-art, beautifully designed, impressive technology everywhere. Marcus felt a sense of peace he had not felt in years. His family was safe. No matter what happened, they would be okay. Then came the reality check. The first problem was maintenance. That sophisticated air system needed regular servicing. The water filtration needed new filters every few months. The backup generators needed fuel and maintenance. The company offered a maintenance package for an additional $50,000 per year. Marcus had not budgeted for that. The second problem was access. The bunker was 400 miles from his home. In an actual emergency, how would he get there? The whole point of a bunker is that you can reach it before the threat arrives. But a 400-mile drive takes 6 to 8 hours in normal traffic. In a crisis, with panic drivers, with potentially damaged roads, with possible checkpoints or roadblocks, it could take days, if it was even possible at all. The third problem was the biggest. His family did not want to be there. His wife found the bunker claustrophobic and depressing. His kids were terrified of it. They did practice weekends, trying to get comfortable with the space. And every time, it was a nightmare. The children had nightmares for weeks afterward. His wife became increasingly resentful. She felt like he had prioritized a fantasy over their real life. Eventually, the marriage fell apart. His wife took the kids. The bunker sat unused. Marcus still owns it, still maintains it, still visits occasionally to run the systems and check the supplies. But he is alone now. He sacrificed his family to protect his family, and the irony of that is not lost on him. Now here is where the story takes another turn, because Marcus is not the only one. The bunker industry is full of stories like this. People who become so focused on surviving a hypothetical future disaster that they destroy their present lives. Psychologists have a term for this. It is called catastrophic thinking, and the bunker industry feeds on it. But let me show you the other side, because not everyone who thinks about bunkers is trapped in this cycle. There are people who approach survival rationally, who understand the limitations, who prepare appropriately without losing themselves. I want to tell you about a community in Switzerland. You might not know this, but Switzerland has more bunker space per capita than any other country on Earth. It is actually required by law. Every Swiss citizen has access to a bunker, either in their home or in a public facility. This has been true since the 1960s, and here is what is fascinating about the Swiss approach. Their bunkers are simple. They are not luxury survival homes. They are basic concrete shelters designed for short-term protection. The Swiss government has calculated exactly what is needed to survive a nuclear event and its immediate aftermath. And they have built accordingly. Nothing more, nothing less. But even more interesting is how the Swiss think about their bunkers. They do not obsess over them. They do not spend their lives preparing for disasters. They acknowledge the risk. They take reasonable precautions. And then they go on living their lives. The bunker is there if they need it. But it does not define them. This is the healthy relationship with survival preparation. Acknowledge the risks. Take proportionate action. Then keep living. The bunker should be one small part of a complete approach to resilience. Not the whole strategy, and certainly not an obsession. So what does a good bunker strategy actually look like? Let me break it down for you. Based on everything we have discussed, based on the historical evidence, based on the psychological research, based on the engineering realities. First, a bunker should be accessible. That means close to where you live, close to where you work, reachable within minutes, not hours. If you cannot get to it quickly, it will not save you when you need it. Second, a bunker should be simple. Complexity creates failure points. Every sophisticated system you add is another thing that can break. The best bunkers are low-tech, concrete walls, basic filtration, stored supplies, manual backup systems, things that work reliably, things that do not require specialized knowledge to maintain. Third, a bunker should be sized appropriately. Bigger is not better. Larger spaces require more resources to maintain, more air to filter, more area to heat or cool. A bunker should be just large enough to accommodate the people who will use it, not luxuriously, comfortably. Fourth, a bunker should have realistic supplies. Not a year of food, not elaborate medical facilities, 2 to 4 weeks of food and water, basic first aid supplies, essential medications, a radio to monitor outside conditions, and most importantly, a plan for what comes next. Fifth, and this is perhaps the most important, a bunker should not be your only plan. It should be part of a layered approach to survival. You should have community connections, skills that are useful in a crisis, physical fitness, mental resilience, the ability to adapt and improvise. A bunker is a tool. It is not a salvation. Now let me bring this all together. Because I promised you that by the end of this video, you would never look at a bunker the same way again. And I hope I have delivered on that promise. The bunker fantasy is seductive. The idea that you can buy safety, that you can purchase survival, that all the chaos and uncertainty of the world can be escaped with enough concrete and enough money. It is a fantasy that the bunker industry sells very effectively, and it is a fantasy that can ruin lives. The reality is much more complicated. Bunkers can provide short-term protection against specific threats, but they come with enormous psychological costs. They come with engineering limitations that are often glossed over. They come with social dynamics that can turn deadly, and they come with a lifestyle price tag that extends far beyond their purchase price. The people who actually survive catastrophic events, the ones who make it through wars and disasters and collapses, they are not the ones with the best bunkers. They are the ones with the best networks, the best skills, the best mental flexibility. They are the ones who can adapt to changing circumstances, who can cooperate with others, who can remain calm under pressure, who can think clearly when everything is chaos. You cannot buy that. You cannot install it underground. You have to build it in yourself. So what should you do with this information? Let me tell you exactly. If you have a bunker or you are thinking about getting one, that is fine. But understand its limitations. Understand what it can and cannot do. Use it as one part of a comprehensive approach to resilience, not as the whole strategy. Focus on community. Know your neighbors. Build crisis. Isolated individuals do not survive. Connected communities do. Focus on skills. Learn first aid, learn basic repair, learn how to grow food, learn how to filter water without fancy equipment. These skills are more valuable than any bunker. Focus on mental health. Work on your stress tolerance. Practice being uncomfortable. Develop the psychological resilience that will keep you functional when others are falling apart. And finally, focus on living. Do not sacrifice your present for a hypothetical future. The odds are overwhelming that you will never need a bunker. Do not let the fear of what might happen destroy what is happening right now.